Alright, you know what time it is. It's ranking time. I've completed my Final Destination franchise review series, 5 very long, in-depth reviews, and so now it's time to rank them from worst to best, or I should say least favorite to favorite, because none of these are terrible movies in my opinion. I love this franchise. It's one of my favorites, definitely top 5 franchises of all time. I think it's really underrated, and some of these movies are really underrated. A lot of people seem to just love one of them and think the rest are shit. I think a lot of these are fantastic. So let's talk about the Final Destination franchise again, but I'm not going to talk as long as I did in my 5 reviews. I talked long enough about these movies already, so this will be a quicker version. Just me quickly saying what I like and don't like about each movie as I rank them. So, number 5, my least favorite Final Destination movie will be The Final Destination, aka Final Destination 4, aka The Final Destination 3D. The second one I saw in theaters. I saw this twice in theaters, actually. It was the first movie I ever saw in theaters more than once, and I had a blast with it. Since then, it's gone down on each viewing. I do find it a little too cartoony, a little too comical. The characters are the weakest in the franchise. They're very underdeveloped, and they're very poorly acted. A lot of them. So yeah, the acting's definitely not strong in this one. But the kills are still good. Again, a little too comical. It's not like brutal, vicious kills. They're more like punchlines. You just kind of laugh at the kills rather than get grossed out or shocked. It's just goofy kills, but they're still pretty creative. The effects are good. It's very action packed. I'm not a big fan of the NASCAR idea. I wish they would have went in a different direction with the opening disaster. Maybe do like a circus or I don't know, storm chasers. Like do something else. It's also got some really noticeable bad CGI. A couple of little plot holes that I noticed on last watch, but it's a super quick paced movie that has some pretty fun kills. So it's a movie that's all just about the kills and the set pieces, which is something that I could say for every single one of these movies. Really, most of them are all about the kills and the set pieces. But outside of the pool and the car wash, I wasn't really impressed with the other set pieces in this one. So Final Destination 4, or The Final Destination, is my number 5. Number 4 will be the other Final Destination movie by director David R. Ellis, and that is Final Destination 2, a movie that a lot of people say is better than the original or just the best sequel. Maybe back in the day I would have agreed and I would have said, yes, Final Destination 2 is definitely top 3 or top 2, but just like Final Destination 4, the more I watch part 2, the more issue I take with it. I think, just like part 4, it's a bit too comedic. There's some bad attempts at humor. I just wish it would have been more serious. I don't like some of the contrived writing and the like how death operates towards the end. I felt like the third act was just too convoluted and rushed, and just I'm not into anything that happens after Rory and Kat get killed. Everything at the hospital I can just do without. It has a very obvious twist that just doesn't really work. I don't like the addition of Tony Todd in this one, bringing him back and making him seem extra like supernatural in a way. Like he's like breaking the fourth wall. Like the only thing I really love about this movie, why I keep going back to it, is it really improves from the original on the kills, the gore, higher body count, and a much bigger action-packed opening disaster. I love the highway sequence. It's pretty fun, and just like the last movie I just talked about, it's pretty quickly paced. I think all of these movies are. They're all fast paced, so I can just say that right now for all of them. So number three and number 2 kept going back and forth, but I'll just say number 3 is the original Final Destination. One that as a kid was my least favorite because it didn't have the creative, awesome kills that the other ones had. It was much more about the suspense, and that's why this one's grown on me over the years. Is because of that. This one's much more scary than the other ones. This one's much more serious, and I like the characters in this movie. I like Devon Sawa in it. I'm not too crazy about Clear's performance, the actress playing her, or the fact that they make her seem like she's got a bit of a psychic ability too. And, I'm not a big fan of the Tony Todd scene in this movie either. I just wish his character would be explored further in one of these movies. Like, explain how he has all this knowledge. It just feels weirdly convenient that he has all this information to give them. I think the airplane sequence is great. It's a fear that a lot of people have. I like the use of John Denver music in it. I like how the deaths are set up in this movie. The bus kills, quite a surprise, shocked a lot of people. I like all the little clues within. There's no CGI visions or visions at all outside of the premonition, so I like that. And I like the third act. Thought it was pretty fast paced and suspenseful, and I like the ending in Paris. It's a cool movie with a unique concept that kicked off an awesome franchise, and I like that this is the only one that has the shadows of death in it. This is the only one where before each kill they kind of catch a glimpse of some shadowy figure in the mirror or in the reflection. Number two, we'll go to Final Destination 5, the other 3D movie in this franchise, and the other one that I saw more than once at the theater. And this one is just a blast. I just love the opening disaster. I think it's one of the best in the franchise. It's very big and action packed, a lot of CG work, but it's pretty good, especially for the budget and the time. CG has definitely gotten better in the last 10 years, but it looks pretty good in this one. And the deaths are pretty gory. One of the best kills in the franchise is in this one and the next one I'm about to talk about. But Candace, her death in this one's pretty shocking. What I'm not crazy about, though, is the new rule they introduced. I don't see why they needed to introduce a new rule. If the formula's not broken, like, you don't fix it. Like, it doesn't make sense. Tony Todd, his character, having this information and only giving it to these people, but not Alex and Clear and Kimberly in part two. Like, why does he just keep holding back information? Like, I don't like that they introduced a new rule, and I don't like what they did with that new rule in this movie. They don't really play around with it as much as they should have. If you're going to bring it in here, play around with it a bit more. Instead, they just do something I don't like in the third act with it, involving Peter's character. I don't like a lot of what happens in the third act until the twist. It has a fantastic twist and a very fun, kick-ass opening credit sequence and in credit sequence with the AC/DC montage. Some good characters. Some of the biggest name actors are in this one. David Koechner. And I really enjoy it. It's tied with part one. I kept going back and forth with it, but because this one has the awesome bridge sequence and I had that movie theater experience that I didn't get to have with part one, that's what kind of helped put this one right above part one. But they could go back and forth. Number one, though, is, of course, Final Destination 3. I talked for over an hour about this damn movie because I just love it so much. It was the first one I saw in the theaters, but that does not mean that I have some kind of bias and that's why I think it's the best. No, I think this one does everything that the first one does, but better. It has the best kills in the franchise. It has the best final girl and lead character in this franchise. It has a cool opening disaster with the roller coaster sequence. I think it's actually better than the airplane sequence, in my opinion. I like the characters. I like Wendy and Kevin. I like, again, the pace of the movie is pretty damn quick because the first two movies exist. They're able to understand what's going on without having Tony Todd come in and explain everything once again and invent new rules. There's no new rules in this one. It doesn't get convoluted. There's nothing that doesn't make sense in this one. It has just this little plot hole that a lot of people like to point out, but I can look past that. I even go as far as explaining how it's not a plot hole, maybe, in my review, if you want to check that out. And also, this one has two big disaster sequences, not just the roller coaster, but the train, the subway at the end. So it's got that also, and I love the whole picture angle. I just thought that was creepy. It's very inspired by The Omen, but I just love how they did it here. I think the writing of this movie is much more creative and clever than people give it credit for. Now, before I go, I just want to do something really quick that I said I was going to do in one of my reviews, and that is point out similarities between James Wong's Final Destination movies and David Ellis's Final Destination movies. I discovered while rewatching these films that there's a lot of similarities between the two James Wong movies and the David Ellis movies. Like, they kind of do the same things in both of their films. James Wong did 1 and 3, and David Ellis and Eric Bress wrote and directed 2 and 4. So here's what I noticed. With James Wong's movies, his both have a young teen cast, and they all know each other, as opposed to just being a bunch of strangers like in 2 and 4. And then there's more setup before the big disaster. There's like at least 10 minutes of setup instead of just starting with the disaster. And there's much more clues than visions for the lead character, Wendy and Devin. They don't like see things in their heads like Kimberly and what's his face. They're much more serious in tone with very mild humor. They both have an alternate ending that was shot after the movie was already done and screened. 2 and 4 do not have alternate endings, and 1 and 3 both have a big time jump. I believe part 1 is 6 months and part 3 is 5 months. And both open disasters for 1 and 3 play on people's fears. A lot of people fear airplanes, and a lot of people fear roller coasters. I don't think everyone's afraid of driving their car down the highway and going to a race. So that's the one similarity I found this time. And also, both premonitions for 1 and 3 take place at night. There's a lot of stormy weather in 1 and 3. I don't think it ever storms in 2 and 4. And there's a weirdo guitarist at the end of 1 and 3. And they cut to black at the end, and we just hear death. In 1, Carter, it cuts to black, and we hear him get killed. And at the end of 3, it cuts to black, and we hear the train or the subway disaster happen. So, with David Ellis's movies, they both have a somewhat older cast, and they don't know each other. They're a bunch of strangers. There's multiple visions for the lead characters, less clues, just more like in their head visions. In 4, it's a lot of that CGI crap. They're much more goofy in tone, 2 and 4, and more action-packed, more stunts, because David Ellis was a stunt coordinator. And the death moves things a lot more in 2 and 4, rather than just having one thing fall and hit this and then that. There's less of a domino effect in 2 and 4. It seems like death is just moving things, kind of cheating. And both 2 and 4 end with survivors at a table, and there's forced nudity in 2 and 4. I noticed that. And the open disasters do not play off people's fears. Premonitions are both during the day in 2 and 4. There's no stormy weather at all, or rain. And there's instant death right after the premonition. In 2, Kimberly's friends get killed right after, and in 4, that chick gets hit by a tire right afterwards. And those are just some of the similarities I discovered. Any I might have missed, let me know. I could throw one more in here real quick. 2 and 4 have the weakest acting. So that is my ranking of the Final Destination franchise. What is your ranking? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.